The only way for men to overcome sexual violence and to prevent it is for them to have self-control and patience. They need to have these two in common, and respect for women should be increased.
All men who has female children, there's this kind of passion or likeness, I should say, that men have for their female daughter, for their female children. So you put yourself in that position. If this was my daughter, will I like this to happen to her? Sexual violence is something that is not convenient. It's only those who are possessed that allow the devil to use them in that direction.
Everybody have a freedom of movement, freedom of dressing, freedom of speech, and all those things. So you have your own freedom. So if somebody is dressing that attracted you, first of all, you have nothing to do with that lady. She's not even your friend. Even if she's your friend, you don't have to force her into it. Couple when you have nothing to do with that lady. So you just take your eyes off the person.
You need to have patience with your wife. You need to discuss with your wife. For instance, if your wife says she's tired tonight, you have to tell her what happened. There should be a discussion. There should not be a violence. You understand? Let there be an understanding. Let there be an endurance.
The men out there who will keep up to the task, who will not molest any lady, I want to say a big shout out to you and happy Father's Day.
I want to wish all the fathers a good and a happy Father's Day. And I wish that we understand more and we all live a happy home and we live in a happy society.
Hello, yes, it's June 20, 2021, and it is Father's Day. We did play that video in our way of saying Happy Father's Day, but at the same time, like we've been talking for the past 11 weeks, this is the 12th week, we've been throwing a light on gender-based violence, and the kinds of stories that we've heard have been pretty mind-boggling. We want to say thank you to Spotlight Initiative for making this happen through the United Nations and UNICEF and the EU. We're in the 13th week and we're celebrating Father's Day. And I have two fathers with me in the house because for today, I want to throw light on getting that promise from fathers and trying to promote responsible fatherhood. I have two people in the house. To me, they are father and son, to the extent that one of them, who is a life coach, has been able to raise a lot of life coaches, me included, that has made him a kind of father in some ways, because a father is the one that births and nurtures, not necessarily by biology. I'm sure a lot of you know I feel that way. So I'm going to start by introducing the son for this evening. His name is Colins Alumonoh. He is a life coach, he's a therapist, and a battle-tested, fast-moving consumer goods, that is FMCG sales professional. He's fondly called the Liberator, because he changes mindsets and frees minds. He is passionate about helping professionals get clarity, manage stress, and unleash their next level of effectiveness so they can build careers and live lives worthy of their talents. He is passionate, goal-oriented, persistent, friendly, believer, and a thinker that loves to make a difference. He holds a bachelor's degree in geology, a postgraduate diploma, and several certifications such as life coaching, goal setting, advanced emotional mastery for therapy. He's an associate of the National Institute of Marketing in Nigeria and an affiliate of International Coaching Federation, the Nigerian chapter. That's Colins. But to me, Colins is a young colleague. He's a father of 3 sons. I know he's calling from Sokoto. And I'll tell you some more interesting thing about Colins after I've introduced his father in the profession, and all of that. His father, who is my father, though I'm older than him professionally, physically, I keep saying that to Larry, I'm sure, but just a couple of days ago, we named him Papi. He's a founder and chief catalyst at the Olusola Lanre Coaching Academy. He's a mind, emotions, and behavioral changing academy. That's the academy that works with individuals and organizations to transform lives by transforming minds. Lanre Olusola is renowned for his extensive array of work of coaching, publishing, and keynote speaking with individuals and organizations locally and internationally. He's passionate about people, and I can attest to that. The Catalyst works to bring about holistic transformation, and over the last 2 decades, he has created, mastered, and deployed integrative and transformative catalysis, ITC. His work varies with individuals, organizations, families, couples, groups, and governments, all with the primary goal of rapidly transitioning them from where they are to where they desire and deserve and are designed to be. Now, all this English that I've been speaking, I want Lanre to be the first to address this question. I'm trying to get a problem because you have set out to change minds, right? And you believe that once minds are changed, people are transformed and they are renewed. Now, we've been hearing all of these stories about gender-based violence, whether it's rape, whether it's domestic violence. On the show, we are concerned about what happens to our daughters. And I wonder if rape is being done by men. Is there something wrong with the way our men are or with the way they are being raised? Lanre,
all right,
you go first.
Thank you very much, Adesola. It's such an honor and a privilege to be on. It's such an honor and a privilege to be on this platform, speaking about one of the things that I love the most, men, and fathers and fatherhood. Yes, there is a foundational problem that we're not addressing. And the foundational problem is this thing that it's a big elephant in the room because of our egos as men. We don't address it. Now, research suggests that about 3 million men, they get abused every year. 3 million men get abused every year. Statistics based on research tell us that 1 in 5 men has been sexually abused. Now, the interesting thing about, abuse is that when you are sexually abused as a boy or raped as a boy, right, it begins to affect your psyche. It begins to affect you in your adult years. You will not get, a significant amount of, those challenges play up whilst you're still young. But as you advance in age, right, you begin to, suffer from low self-esteem. You begin to suffer from low self-confidence and lack of self-worth. You begin to have an inferiority complex. You begin to, deal with fear, anxiety, sadness, anger, bitterness. You begin the blame game. You're living a life of confusion. You begin to feel like you're a victim. You feel humiliated and ill-equipped. Now, this is very, very interesting. Ill-equipped to deal with the real issues of life. Now, coming back to behavioral issues. Now, sexual abuse produces many behavioral and emotional and physical problems in men's adult years, such as sexual promiscuity. Now, it also leads to other compulsive and addictive behaviors, such as sex addiction. And so this is one area that, we need to begin to look at, because if we look at the resultant effect of sexual abuse, in 33% of the cases of depression, it's a result of it. Lack of trust or, ability to manage your authority, right? 32% of the time. Suicide, 28% of the time. Anxiety, 28% of the time. Self-harming, 22% of the time. And attempted suicide, right? I've already, talked about the thoughts, but the real act of suicide, 22% of the time. And so this and the fact that a lot of fathers are absent. A lot of fathers do not nurture their children when it comes to, helping them develop, the right values, the right ideologies, and the right perspectives to life. Fathers hardly talk to their children about sex. They allow their children and their sons to learn about sex on the street. They allow, their sons to learn about sex from their peers, rather than being your son's coach, rather than being your son's mentor, rather than being your son's role model. Another challenge is your children are watching you. And especially in this 21st century, your children know a lot of the things that you are doing, no matter how you are trying to hide it. I'm going to give you a classic example. So they brought to me a 5-year-old girl who at 5, right, was addicted to porn. She used to consume porn at age 5. It wasn't a sexual thing, but you know that, the brain center, right, that causes addiction is the same brain center that processes porn. And so when you constantly watch porn, it becomes an addiction. Now, this 5-year-old girl, it was the mother that complained. Every time they have tried deliverance, they have tried prayers, they have tried everything. So they brought this girl. And when this girl came, I said to the mother, how's your husband? By divine inspiration, I knew that it was from the father that it started. So I asked the mother that I have to see the father before I start working with this 5-year-old girl. So the next session, they brought the man, and I told the woman to excuse us. And I asked the man, about, porn. He said and he was a pastor. He said he lie. So I said to him, I normally don't do this, but because you're a pastor, right, I feel very, very strongly that I need to tell you this. The Holy Ghost told me that you have an addiction to porn. And the first time your daughter watched porn, she watched it on your iPad. And subsequently, she's been watching it on your iPad. The guy broke down and started crying. He broke down and started crying that he is struggling with porn addiction. A 5-year-old girl. Now imagine, right, the kind of chaos, the kind of catastrophe if I had said it to his wife, right, without bringing him in. And I said to him, sin thrives in secrecy. It is time for me to facilitate the conversation between you and your wife first. It is time for us to solve the problem for you first before we solve the problem for your daughter. And that's how I was able to help him kick the addiction of porn. That was how I was able to help his daughter kick the addiction of porn. Now, our environment influences our behavior. What we do in our adulthood is a function of what we learned in our childhood. Our nature is influenced by our nurture. Too many fathers are absent. It is time for fathers to show up. It is time for fathers to take responsibility. It is time for fathers to recognize that his children, whether male or female, they need him. They need to learn from his failures. They need to learn from his challenges. They need to learn from his successes. Fathers, it is time for you to become vulnerable with your children. It is time for you to share your life's experiences with them. But most importantly, it is time for you to become the best role model for your children. If we're going to address this issue, right, we have to address the issues of boys being abused. We have to address the issues of fatherhood. We have to address the issues of absenteeism. We have to address the issues of, the adult manifestation of a lot of traumas that men have suffered. We're not talking about some of the real issues, and we have to start talking about those real issues now. Thank you. Seems like Adesoa has been knocked off.
Dropped off.
Yeah. Yes. Right. So since Adesoa got knocked off, Collins, we're just gonna run this show until she comes back, right?
No problem.
Collins, what's your own perspective based on the same question that Adeswa asked me? What are your own perspectives?
So thank you, sir, for having me and asking these questions. The truth of the matter is that you have nailed the issue on the head. I personally believe that men are locked in a bubble of their nurture. The way they have been raised, they are within that bubble. And also within that bubble is their peer pressure, our beliefs, our norms, their experiences. Like you always say, all you know is not all there is to know. All you know is all you have been taught. They're in that bubble. Many of them are looking for ways out, but they cannot go out because they don't know what to do. I give a classic. In the last 16 months, I've been on a journey for personal development, not just in my career, personal development. So I've spent nothing less than $4,000 to develop myself so that I can function properly. And in all those classes I've attended, 60 to 70% of the participants are women. So where are the men? Many of them are struggling, but they don't know where to go. And all of a truth, older men have also not done what they need to do to pull up younger men, to teach them the right responsibilities, to teach them the right things to do. I give a classic from Hollywood. Denzel Washington was mentored by Sidney Poitier, and Denzel also mentored Chadwick Boseman. In fact, when he was giving his award, he said there would have not been a Black Panther without a Denzel. Older men need to step back and come pick other men. And that's why I'm very, very happy what you are doing, what Fela Durotoye is doing. A case in point, as Auntie Adeswa said earlier on, you are currently mentoring 64 coaches, Nigerian coaches who are either in Africa or in North America or in Europe. You are pouring everything you know into these guys. And you also have a community of people you bring together, even the alumni community, where it's safe, where men can be themselves, where men can get healing. Fela Durotoye is doing something similar with his tribe, with raising some of he has also mentored younger men like Bankole Williams, Steve Harris, and even Jimmy Tewe. So older men need to come back and bring these men out of those circles, though that's fair. I personally believe that they want to get out, but they don't know where to go. So older mentors need to come out. And like you rightly said, nurture is very, very key. By the grace of God, I have 3 sons, and my initial idea is to raise them to be lions. Oh, don't cry, don't do this. So one day, my eldest is 9, the next is 7. So 2 years ago, I was walking past the corridor. Something happened to the younger one, so he was crying. Then the elder one says, who was about 7 years, said, "Are you not a man? Don't cry." That for me was a wake-up call. I knew I had missed it. I knew I started missing it. So I had to retrace my step to start bringing back, learning what needs to be learned. Because if we raise our children the way we were parented, we'll raise them for a different society. Most of our children cannot survive. They are not as emotionally resilient as we are, or the people before us. So they need a different kind of training, a different kind of nurturing, which will not entertain absent fathers, which will not entertain abusive fathers, which requires mutual respect for the father and the son, the father and the daughter. And another critical point is that, yes, there's a bond between a father and a daughter. The daughters marry men like their fathers. If you are absent, your daughters will tend to go and look for men that will treat them the same way. So I usually tell people I coach is, as a man that you are today, would you want your daughter to marry a man like you? If the answer is no, you got to change something. Then we also agree that a child is raised by a village. As a mother, this boy you are raising, would you give, if you had a daughter, will you give it to this boy? So we need to begin to change the way we train our children. There are a lot of tools. We need to begin to learn how to train our children, how to discipline them the right way, and learn the effective communication, to communicate at neurological levels, to communicate at emotional levels, and in fact deeper levels. Then as men, we must learn also to begin to manage our emotions. Emotional mastery is very, very key, because most of these challenges, emotional challenges, also lead to diseases. I think Amaka is back now. Okay.
Hello, hi. I'm going to stand in for AO right now, and jump in and ask a question. Thank you so much for you guys coming in and sharing your experiences. But how does a man begin this journey? Like how does he begin understanding himself, managing his emotions, knowing the kinds of things that he's also been brought up understanding is to be correct? How does he start to correct that mentality? What's the first step? Because everyone wants to change, or at least some people are, attempting to make that change. How does one go about this change? How does one go about changing their mentality? If you guys can help me answer that, I'd appreciate it.
All right. There are a few things that I mean, there's a myriad of things that we need to get right. And the first thing is men have to discover their true authentic identity and purpose. We have to discover our true identity and purpose. Who are you? Who are you not? What are you? What are you not? For what reason do you exist on this earth today? Every man, secondly, needs to create a life vision, a life mission, and a life goal. It is very, very important. Your identity must align with your life vision and your life mission. The third thing, right, is you have to take the responsibility, right, of role modeling. You have to be number one role model for everybody that is following you. I love what Colin said, right? That if you had a son, right, and you had a daughter, right, would you, if your daughter was ripe for marriage, the way that your son behaves, the way that your son is, right, would you allow your daughter to marry such a person as your son? And this is where the father comes in. He needs to have learned how to be a right role model. You don't start it when you are married. You don't start it when you become a father, right? Even your authentic identity, even your purpose. It's not when you marry that you should be discovering it. Even it's not too late to discover it at that point, right? Once you are evolving into a man, right? Every man must know the reason why he exists. So being a positive role model in society is very, very important. The fourth thing that I want to say is, you can never undermine, right, the power of a good name, the power of a good reputation. The good book says that a good name is better than silver and gold. It is better than many riches. So what are the behaviors that are going to spoil your name? What are the character traits that are going to spoil your name? What are the qualities that are going to spoil your name? It is important, right, that you develop a good name, a good reputation. You also have to understand, right, that you need to have a sound mind. You need to develop yourself. You need to invest in yourself. There's so many people that lack the skills, the understanding, and the wisdom in life matters. Oh, yes, you can be a great engineer. You can be a great architect. You can be a great CEO. However, when it comes to the issues of marriage, when it comes to the issues of life, when it comes to the issues of fatherhood, right? When it comes to the issues of bringing up your children the right way, what school did you go to? Where are you acquiring the knowledge from? Who is teaching you? Who are you learning from? A lot of us don't realize that, TV, media is where we get a lot of, our learning from unconscious. So what kinds of programs are you watching? What kinds of books are you reading? What kind of friends are you associating with? I often say that show me your friends and I'll accurately predict the future. So, those things are very, very critical. There are much more, but let me leave it with that and let Collins also, speak to the question.
Okay. So the catalyst has also said a lot of the things, but there are some few things I would like to expand or talk about. The first being that men should get information. the right information. I can tell you, just as you mentioned, identity, there are several tests for you to be able to know who you are from the comfort of your bedroom. The Catalyst has even researched for over 20 years and has this test even on his website. Your personality test, how I think, my emotional stability, how is it? When you are stressed, what do you do? There's a test for stress. There's a test for procrastination, a test for how you think. There are tips, easy tips, 50 tips of how to manage stress that are inexpensive. What to eat, what to do. These informations are available. You can get them on your iPad or your phone, on your Android this evening. They are available. Emotional intelligence has been fingered for about 85% of success.
Amaka is doing it.
Okay.
Go ahead and do this.
Okay. Emotional intelligence has been fingered for as high as 85% of success. Intellect is just an entry tool. So most successful leaders are emotional intelligent people. You must learn to develop your emotional intelligence. And we all have challenges. It's often said that if you don't heal your wounds, you will bleed on the people that did not cut you.
I agree.
You understand? Frederick Douglass also said, he said, it is better to raise strong men than to heal broken men. It's better to raise strong children, strong boys, than to heal broken men.
But there are broken men that need healing. So how do they?
Yeah. No. What I'm saying is that it's better to catch them when they are young. You understand? But once you're already broken or whatever it is, there's still help is available. Ask out. Ask for help. As a nature of men, we find it difficult to say our problems. Most men will not come out and tell you that, oh, my sexual bravado in the other room is down. They will not say it to a friend. They will just be exploring extra options. So men speak out. There's solution at fingertips, different solutions. So we must learn to speak out. And we all have negative beliefs and unrealistic expectations from men. I give you a classic. In 2007, when I was 7, I was the only man among 6 girls. So every evening we come together and chat in the school. So we're chatting. So I don't know how this discussion went into alcohol. Then I don't drink personally. So at the end of the day, one of the girls said, I cannot marry a man, or I cannot date a guy that doesn't drink. I was shocked. I said, what? The other lady said, he said, I cannot even date a guy that doesn't have another person. He said, I don't want rejected goods. I want someone else is struggling for. So do you understand? So different people have different ideas, different beliefs, taking them into wrong relationships and taking them in. So each of us need to go back and question and question our beliefs. What are my beliefs about women? And that is why we also need to have the right mentors that, like TC has said. I see the way they treat their wife, the way he treats his wife, the way Fela treats his wife, and they allow their wives to be all they want to be. Their wives are CEOs, but some men will not allow that because of low self-esteem. So you need to deal with your self-esteem.
But see, these men with low self-esteem, they're raising boys, and they're also going to transfer that low self-esteem. So in order to help the children and to build the kids, we have to also build the parents as well, because they are the mentors, right? Like a child is not to go on to Lanre's page to find out his personality test or his character traits. It still has to start from the top. And that top recognizing that there are these issues, there are these negative belief systems that are inbred in them, and that's where the change starts, because that child, just like Lanre mentioned about the kid that was watching porn without even understanding what she was doing, she had no idea what was happening. But it's the parents that we need to for lack of a better description, tweak or get to understand themselves better so that they can transfer that information and that knowledge and those general life skills to their kids so that it doesn't continue to transfer from generation to generation. But I will kick off now and I will hand over to AO. So good luck, everyone. Give me a second.
Wow, my God. This is, I don't know if you guys can hear me now. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
My data is kind of slow of all days, but for a change, I'm so glad that Amaka was there to take over. I don't know what you guys have been talking about, but I believe it's worked. Am I correct, Larry?
Sorry?
Have you guys been able to get something going, you know,
Oh,
even
yeah.
without me? I'm not going to take over.
Yeah,
Huh?
it's been incredible. To your question, Collins and I answered, and then Amaka asked us, what the men need to do, and then that's where you met us.
Mhm.
I answered, and then
Okay. Gee.
Collins had answered. So you can go to the next question that you have.
Well, the truth is you know, with me, it usually is a conversation. Somebody's just sent something in that I have not found an empirical evidence for emotional intelligence, good leadership, and business performance. I don't know what all that's got to do with what we're talking about, but I think what we're saying is if people have the correct emotional intelligence, then they'll be able to do the correct things. Is that what we've been saying, Collins?
So,
You
so
know,
yeah, so what Collins said was, and I'd like to quickly jump in and speak to that. What Collins said is one of the things that fathers need to develop is emotional intelligence. One of the things that leaders need to develop is emotional intelligence, because you can be you can have a high IQ, but it's not going to take you to the promised land. It's not going to deliver for you the kind of success that you want in every sphere of your life. Now, research and suggests and has said to us that as much as 85% of success in all chosen fields of endeavor is dependent on how spiritually and emotionally intelligent you are. Let me explain that. Let me break it down for you, right? You are a spirit, you have a soul, and you live in a body. 90 to 95% of every decision you make is made by your subconscious. That is a combination of the mind of your spirit and the mind of your soul. The soul is the seat of your intellect, your will, and your emotions. There is no decision that you can make without an emotion. Your emotions influence every decision you make. Your beliefs influence every emotion that you have. Your thoughts influence every belief that you have. Your environment influence every thought that you have. Now, as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. That's what the good book says. Now, you think with your brain, you feel with your heart. The good book is trying to tell us that with influence from our environment, we begin to process things from what we see, what we hear, and what we recollect or remember. Now, those dynamics influence your thought processes. Your thought processes influence your convictions and your beliefs. Your convictions and your beliefs, they influence your emotions. Your emotions influence your decisions. Your decisions influence your actions, and your actions produce the outcomes in life. So, at the heart of all outcomes in your life
I
lies
think I'll take a
your
break. I'll
your,
take
your
a break and
and your emotions. And so you cannot make the right decision if you do not know how, to manage your emotions, and if you do not have the right emotions. And so that's what we're speaking to: emotional intelligence, right? And spiritual intelligence, the intelligence of knowing things, feeling things, sensing things, and being able to master your internal dynamics, right? And master your subconscious is key to every success aspiration that you have, including parenting, including fatherhood. Adeso, are you back?
yes, I am. I just thought now I can hear you very clearly, and I thought I couldn't hear you guys very well. So, but I do thank God for the fact that you guys could carry on. And I just thought I should let people understand why I picked the two of you. Emotional intelligence is about being in control of your emotions. But what has that got to do with fatherhood and the kind of sons we're producing and with gender based violence? I want to draw a correlation from that very quickly, 1 minute addressing it, because you, Larry, are a father of daughters. So, and then Collins is a father of sons. How are you raising your children to be different, to be able to address these issues? If we have people doing these things because they're not emotionally intelligent enough, then how should we address the problem from the home? 1 minute each, so I can take a break and bring my cameo guests in. So I'll start
All
with you,
right.
Collins.
Okay, for me, I gave a story before when you were away, when I talked about the way I was raising my sons before as men. I wanted them to be lions. So there was a day I usually tell them, don't cry. So there was a day I was walking past, then that was 2 years ago. The eldest was 7 years, was telling the younger one, you're a man, don't cry. Then I knew I had made a mistake. I've entered their subconscious. So from that day, I started retracing my steps. So what I do now, I train them to have the right level of confidence, have empathy, respect others, and live responsibly. That's what I try to teach now, and I do that in several ways. One, changing my approach to life, changing my beliefs that do not support me. You understand, and developing my emotional intelligence, and I begin to discuss certain things with them. This today I was so surprised when they wrote a card on Father's Day to me. My son was using things like role models, using things like motivation. He said, I was surprised. I said, so this boy, 9-year-old boy, understands these things, so he's beginning to catch it. So for me,
So it's
it's
speaking.
changing my beliefs, so that I get the desired outcome. I want tomorrow that my sons can be the best versions of themselves. For me, that's how
Okay.
I design how I train them. Even up to their cartoons, I watch all their cartoons and I know what it is. There are certain cartoons I've stopped them from watching.
Okay,
So all their
I think
cartoons, yeah.
yeah. So I think Lanre can go next. You know, I wonder how the kind of fatherhood. What what is your example of fatherhood? Did you learn from your father and you hand it on to your daughters? You know, I'm just wondering.
Unfortunately, Adesua, I lost my father when I was 2 years old, and my mom was my father and my mother until my older brothers, started to become role models. So I lived with so many women, and my mom stepped into the shoes. She never remarried. So everything that I know, right, I learned from her. But as a father and with my children, I, I, I try as much as possible to ensure that they know who they are. They have a good knowledge and understanding of their strengths and their weaknesses. I give them an opportunity to express themselves, to be comfortable to communicate with me, whatever it is that is on their mind. I let them realize that change is a constant and it's not about intelligence, neither is it about strength. It's about flexibility, it's about dynamism, it's about openness, right? It's about diversity. Like Colin said, I teach them to develop empathy, compassion, and to be kind. I ensure that as a father, I am constantly motivating them, speaking positively to their life. I coach my daughter. So, for example, I'll give you an example, right? My daughter, at the age of 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, represented Nigeria in global swimming competitions, gold medal, silver medals, bronze medals. And what did we do? I got her different coaches in Ikoyi Club because Ikoyi Club was the club that the swimmers that represented Nigeria were trained in. So every evening from about 5 p.m. to about 7 p.m., they will be trained in Ikoyi Club. But every morning at 5 a.m. to 7 a.m., I would take her to a hotel. I was turning around a hotel at that point as a consultant. And so I had access to their pool. Every day in the morning, we will wake up, right? And we will go swimming, right? And I got another coach. And each time I was pushing her to break her own record. She loved swimming. She wanted the world record. She wanted to get a gold medal. And I said I was going to support her. We did that for months. Beyond that, on Saturdays, I would take her, and mom also would take her to stadium to go and swim with the roughnecks, to go and swim in an Olympic-sized swimming pool. Suffice it to say that several times in Germany, that's where the swimming competitions happen. Against boys, against girls. She won gold, silver, bronze. So that is how I train my daughters. I train them to be role, train them, to be complete. I train them to be self-motivated. I train them to set their own goals every time they are going to school. right? I tell them to set their academic goals and to put in place a plan towards how they're going to achieve it. Because I know as a coach that if you have no goal, then you're going nowhere. However, if you have a goal without a plan, right, you're wasting your time. It's just a wish. And I live there, I ensure that they live a life of gratitude, a life of harmony and contentment. I help build their self-worth,
Thank you.
their self-esteem, their self-confidence. But most importantly, we incorporate fun and recreation into our relationships, right? We travel together. And at that time, that's when I sit back and I study them to identify what behaviors, what habits, what values, what ideologies, what beliefs they're living. And through fun and entertainment, right, we're able to help them correct some of those things, right? And also, another important thing is you must sit with your children and eat with them. It is very,
Okay.
very important.
Thank you very much, Lanre. I suppose what these two men have done have laid the foundation and given examples of themselves of what a good father is. A good father is the one that is an example. A good father is the one that accepts all children, male or female, and raises them right. And I did promise a cameo guest. I want to take a short break. Thank you, gentlemen. You'll stay in the studio and listen as I bring on Dinrele Edwards. She runs a spa in Lagos, but I'm not bringing her here because of the spa. I'm bringing her here because of something she's starting off this Thursday, and I think it's very critical as we're marking Father's Day. So I want to take a break and see a little bit about Dinrele, and I'll bring it into perspective.
Hi, Dinrele, are you here? Hello, Dinrele. I think you're muted, Dinrele. You need to unmute yourself.
I'm actually on two different Wi-Fi because they're just really acting up. So I hope I know I've heard a lot.
Muted, Dinrele. You need to unmute.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, but it seems that there's a feedback,
An echo.
an echo. So
Let
you need
me leave
to mute
one. I think I need to leave one. Yes. Is it better now?
Yes, it is. It is fantastic. So how are you today, Dinrele?
Oh, I'm very well, thank you. And yourself?
Very well.
Thank you, Larry. Thank you, Larry, for doing this. Thank you, Larry. Thank you so much. Because I had this prepared. Anyway, let me not waste time. I really need to introduce Dinrele and why I brought her in. Dinrele lost her husband 7.5 years ago. 7 years ago, at least this June. And her husband, in her opinion, and for everybody who knew him, was a great father. A father to one son and 3 daughters. We saw the pictures. But Dinrele is here. Dinrele is one of 3 daughters, right? And one of 3 daughters, and you tell me that a daughter doesn't make a difference, daughter or son. In fact, it's daughters that look after their parents more. What do you think, Dinrele, before we go straight into the conversation?
Absolutely. Sometimes I really wish my dad was alive. My dad died at 40, so he died when he was about 11, and I wish he'd lived to see me and my 2 sisters, because I always say glory to God, but I don't know what any son could have done for him that we, by God's grace, are not able to do, and even
do more. And do more. So, but today, you when I told you about what I was having today, and I said I was talking about Father's Day and why it's important that our fathers be responsible, especially because if there's violence, it's men that are perpetrating it mostly. Although we know boys do get abused, right? But we're concerned about that. So, and our coaches, as coaches would be, have said it's all in the mind. Our boys have not been raised right. right? Even if we raise our boys right, or our men are in the right state of mind, we could lose them very easily to something as simple as cardiac arrest. So that's your concern. Tell us why that's your concern.
Okay, I've said to you that the day my husband died, Robert, was a normal day. We had made breakfast, he'd had lunch, we'd had a plan for what we were going to do the very next day. He wasn't sick. People were like, oh, was this? He wasn't sick. He just went out on a normal day, went to work, was heading back home, and stopped at Iba on Admiralty Road to shoot some pool. And while he was shooting the pool, he just slumped, and no one knew what to do. I remember very well the guy he was playing pool with coming, afterwards, and he was in tears. He was weeping, and he was saying, I didn't know what to do. I couldn't understand what was happening. And I just knew that, I didn't know a lot about cardiac arrest then, but I just knew that if people had just known what to do, people were just milling over him, depriving him of the much needed oxygen. Nobody knew what to do. They did nothing. And because nobody did anything, he died. And he was 48 years old. He had so much to live for. We have 4 children. So you can imagine it was a really horrible thing. But the thought that I really left with was that he didn't need to die. I really felt strongly, and I still feel it to today, that he didn't need to die if only someone had known what to do, or if only someone had just done something.
So why is that important to you? Because you're doing something, you're trying to set up foundation. So why is it important that you do this? And I don't know how someone who's mourning, because you lost your mother just in the past 4 weeks or so, and you put her down, and you're still able to do what you want to do on Thursday.
Okay, so my husband passed on the 3rd of June, 2014. And every year, so this foundation is properly registered. We have a board of trustees. But somehow I never was able to do it. There was just always one thing or the other. I know that, I have to bring God into it, because I believe that God is always working for our good. So I had planned to then do it on the 7th year anniversary, which was this year on the 3rd of June. And then on the 24th of May, my mom passed unexpectedly. So it was very difficult she was buried last week, Friday. So it was very difficult for me to plan the foundation launch and to plan my mom's funeral at the same time. So I said, okay, I will do it afterwards. It's not the anniversary, and it may not be a commemorative date, but it was just something I needed to do. And then in the period where after my mom died and we were planning the funeral, there was this international thing where this footballer slumped, and he had a sudden cardiac arrest. And I said, oh my God, God is always doing something behind, isn't it? Because I think now more than ever before, it's on people's mind, because that was streamed live and everybody saw it. And how much more relevant it is now, because that guy is alive today because somebody did something, somebody knew what to do. He could have died, but because he got the right attention in the crucial first few minutes, he's alive today. Now, we don't know if he's ever going to play football again, but he's alive. And what a blessing.
So CPR made the difference. I'm going to go to Lanre now, because Lanre is a lot of many things. What does this story tell you about the things we take for granted in our society?
Yeah, health, our mental health, our emotional health, and our physical health are 3 things that we take for granted. A lot of us are also ignorant because we do not understand that mental and emotional health influence and affect your physical health. Your environment also, right? And the climate within your environment is also very, very critical. And really, I'm really sorry about your loss. The Lord be with you. Like she has said, it is very, very important, right, that we begin to focus on our health and our well-being. It is also very important that we're able to identify symptoms, right, before somebody begins to, get into the critical stages of health issues. Whether it's physical or whether it's emotional or mental. Now, they really was talking about Ericsson in the 2020 European Championship that is going on. And guess what? he had a cardiac arrest right there on the football pitch. And on that football pitch, they had all the equipment to resuscitate him. And they resuscitated him before they moved him. The match stopped. The whole world was focused on that guy. His teammates were crying. They couldn't even look. They turned their backs and they held their hands together in solidarity. In that moment, the whole world was
praying for him.
I'm praying that this guy should not go that, right? Even the opposing team. And so this is a very, very serious matter. And it borders around prevention. It borders around knowing what to do when someone is in crisis. And the real issues are ignorance. Secondly, we're just not interested. Thirdly, we have a laissez-faire attitude to life.
Is that I'm wondering though, Denrele, do you see that as a challenge? Because now the foundation is going to be launched on Thursday in Lagos online. And the message is what? Do you worry about people saying, it doesn't concern me now, it won't happen to me, it's not my portion?
Honestly, it could happen to anyone. I could just, on this hand, I could just reel out a list of names of people that is happened to that you would never have thought. Because, just to say something about what Lanre said about Ericsson, it's interesting to know that this is a guy who undergoes physicals every time. So before these guys get on the field, they are checked. So obviously there's the health part. But like I was also quick to say, Robert wasn't sick. So this guy has undergone a series of health checks. You would think that this guy is physically fit. He's at the prime of his life. He's young. You wouldn't expect him to just slump like that. So this is a silent killer. And believe it or not, sudden cardiac arrest kills about 7 million people a year, more than HIV/AIDS, more than cancer, more than a lot of malaria put together. And
do you know how it works though? How does it work? What does it mean really? I think we should tell people that.
What do you mean?
Sudden cardiac arrest is not heart attack.
No, it's different from sudden cardiac arrest is not the same as heart attack. Sudden cardiac arrest is a loss of heart function, breathing, and consciousness. Heart attack is when blood stops to a part of your body and your heart is blocked. That's a heart attack. Now, a heart attack can also lead to a sudden cardiac arrest. So I've been talking to a doctor. We have a cardiologist who is going to be present at the lecture. He's a consultant cardiologist and is the medical director of Eurocare Multi-Specialist Hospital. And I've been having conversations with him. And obviously what the foundation is about is creating awareness, because people lack awareness, people lack empathy, people are just completely clueless. I sent you a video about some local government chairman somewhere in Delta State who
was dancing.
Everybody was looking at this man. Even a doctor who came didn't even know what to do, just put him in a recovery position, which was not what he needed, and that man died. And the people were
CPR
on CPR with defibrillator. So the CPR with the automated external defibrillator will actually give you a 75% chance of survival if it is done within the first 3 minutes. And that was what was done for Ericsson. He's been discharged. I mean, he's not even in the hospital waiting for 3 weeks for something to happen. He's been discharged, all because people knew what to do. With sudden cardiac arrest, the worst thing you can do is nothing, because the person is already dead. Your heart stops. The person is dead.
So you have to
you can't kill somebody who is already dead, but you can bring him back to life, which is what the CPR and the defibrillator do. So at the Robert Edwards Foundation, what we want to do is we want to provide awareness. We want people to just know that these things happen. We want to provide education, teach people what they can do. And hopefully we'll also want to be able to supply defibrillators in places. Lanre mentioned they had all these things in the stadium. Can you believe that in the General Hospital Lagos, they have just one defibrillator and it's in the theater, which means that if somebody is rushed into emergency and is dying, they will not bring that person back to life. That's in our General Hospital. So we also will hope to long-term provide this equipment, because we cannot wait for the government to do something. Our fathers are dying, our husbands are dying. you're saying it, boys don't have the right role models, because their parents are absent. The ones who are not dead, the ones who are not absent may be dead. And we want to stop this from happening.
Thank you, Dane Relay. And I'm going to scroll on the screen at some point in time how they can join that. But because my conversation really is about being, if you see my screen, I deal with her. That means I am in support of keeping young girls safe from predators, whether they're in their families or outside of the family. So I want each of my guests to take time to tell me what's the best strategy. And I'm going to start with Colins, then I'll go to Aden Relay, then Lanre, the way I see you on my screen. How can we deal with her to ensure that girls are protected? Fathers first.
Okay,
Colins,
the first thing we need to do is to get the right information, create the enabling environment where we are open with these children, so that we can nurture them properly. Learn the right things, expose them to the right things, and be vigilant with the people around, what they see, what they hear, who they relate with. These are very, very key. They may sound mundane, but they are very, very key. As a father, we need to get the right knowledge, become open, nurture the environment, and nurture the child, and be very, very aware of the environment. As you may see, as is often common, that most people who violate other people are not strangers. So we must always watch the people around our environment. Who are they? What do they do? And monitor the movements. We just need to be vigilant and learn the right things to do. That's
and daddies need to be vigilant as well. Thank you.
Yeah.
Dane Relay, somebody was asking about defibrillator. Is that they put on the chest as it goes boom? Boom,
yeah, boom. Shock you. So basically what they're doing is they're shocking your heartbeat back to life. They're trying to bring your heartbeat back to life.
Right. So, okay, now I would like to ask you how you think men and the whole society can deal with her to protect her from abuse.
Okay, I think that, first of all, we stop shaming the abused. Sometimes when people have been abused, you hear, what was she wearing? How did she present herself? Why was she alone with him? You hear all the silly things. And I'm thinking, somebody's abused this person. It doesn't matter if she was naked. If she said no or she was unwilling, then it is wrong. Then we need to bring these people to book. We need the Nigerian police to stop begging people to take the case and settle it as a family matter. So somebody in your family has abused you, and then the entire family comes and puts pressure on you to cover it and to put it, and so that you don't shame the family. We need to listen and watch our children. We need to check when they're acting strange. We need to check when they're quiet. We need to pay attention to them when they're saying, I don't want to go to that uncle's house, or I don't like the way that auntie does around me. We need to pay attention to our children. We need to protect them, and we need to stop shaming the victims. That's what we need to do.
Thank you, Dane Relay. Dane Relay is head esthetician at Zuri Spa. To put that in, because your skin and you look, amazing. So Dane Relay, thanks. And then Lanre is going to go last. How do we deal with her?
Thank you very much. I couldn't help. My eyes are just focused on Dane Relay's red hair. Nice, bold, very. It tells me that you're a bold and confident woman. And that must have come from, good parenting, and the influence of your father and your mother on you. But I want to, I always think crazy, right? People think I'm crazy, but I'm going to focus on what we have control over. Today, the story is very abysmal. When there's a rape situation and they report to the police also even want to have their own time with the rape victim. So there's a complete breakdown of law and order in our system. And so I want to speak to prevention. And the first thing is we have to recognize that we live in a jungle. We live in a jungle. Lagos is the world's third most stressful city after Afghanistan and Syria, 2 war-torn countries, right? The amount of alcohol addiction substance abuse in Nigeria among the youth is incredible, right? If you walk in the morning, you see your driver, your cook, and all of those guys drinking shekwet, that's alcohol from the sachet, right? Every time I walk in the morning, I see thousands of sachets on the floor, right? Because of the stress in the country, a lot of people are depending on substances. The drug
So
situation is serious. However, you need to recognize that we live in a jungle, which means that you need to begin to train your daughter in self-defense first. You need to be able to speak to your daughter about predators and where you will find predators and how to identify a predator. You need to help build that 360-degree awareness to be able to sense danger at any point in time. So your daughters need to go and learn karate, taekwondo, kickboxing, and you really need to get them to ace it. Now, the moves that they are going to make, that they are going to teach them, have to be deadly, right? Such that once they attack the attacker, the next thing is to take off. It's that defense move is to create room in a window of escape. It is very, very critical. Very critical. I'm going to tell a story of a predator. They called a woman's daughter, right? And they sent her text, they interviewed her to become a model. They set it up. And so this girl, how they knew whether she was interested in modeling, a young 16 or 17-year-old girl, how they knew she was interested in modeling, I don't know. However, they reached out to her. They did series of interviews, and then they said that they're going to sign a contract because there was a job that she needed to come and do in Surulere. Guess what the mother did? The mother decides to follow her. And so when she gets there, the address that they gave them on Google Maps, there was no such address on the street. So they now called the guy, right? And the mother spoke to the guy and said, "Well, my daughter is here with me, and I'm here with her. So where's the house that you guys are in?" He dropped the phone and did not communicate for a few minutes, right? They called him again, right? Suffice it to say, right, that when the guy showed up a few minutes after, right, because he saw the mother, he just says that, you know what, the modeling thing is cancelled, and they left. Now, what would have happened if the mother hadn't gone? The girl would have been raped or whatever it is used for juju
wow.
or rituals. It is therefore very important that we're very involved, hands-on with our children today. We are the first line of defense. Now, peradventure, they're not with you, and a victim wants to strike. Once they know how to sense, danger, once they develop their intuition, right, they can escape. However, when it gets to the point where the predator is trying to pounce on them, they need to
They can
learn
defend themselves.
techniques to defend themselves and escape.
Thank you so much to my guests, especially because half of the time I wasn't here. I must also thank Amaka for standing in, and I thank all of you for being here. And there was a comment by somebody called Pepe, and it was scrolled on earlier. I don't know if we can scroll that again to remember, and I think it's critical. She was teaching grade 3 and 5 to know boundaries, and most of them didn't even know what was happening. So this is a call to all of us to realize, just like Lanre has said, we must teach. And I think Colin said the same thing. They really said the same thing. We must teach our children the right thing to do. We must be the best. But I think I like best, let our girls learn taekwondo and karate. Eh? And as I sign off, I'm asking that, I always say carry a pepper spray just to be safe, but defend yourself. While we have been calling here for all kinds of interventions, I think it's important to recognize the truth. We live in a jungle, so teach our children to exist in the jungle while we're trying to solve the problem. Thursday, all roads will lead to the Robert Edwards Foundation. We're trying to keep our fathers alive. So I thank you, Dean Relay. And I think we can scroll, we will share that on all our platforms. But at the end of the day, I want each of you just say, when I say go, we say hashtag I deal with her. 1, 2, 3, go.
Hashtag
Hashtag I deal with her.
Thank you very much. You're with her. We support the women and we appreciate you. Please hang on as we sing out. We do our promise as we sign off. Can we send out a promise? The promise from parents. Is that on cue, ladies and gentlemen, on the back?
I pledge to learn about types, signs, and prevention of violence against children. I pledge to speak out and report all cases of violence against children to the appropriate authorities. I pledge to step in and help any child experiencing violence. I pledge to consciously create an environment free from violence for my child. I pledge to communicate effectively and spend quality time with my children and build a trustworthy relationship with them. So, help me God.
Okay, so now I guess we can officially say bye-bye. If I say bye-bye, please remain in the studio. My guests are going to remain in the studio with me, but we're signing out right now on our live broadcast. So bye, guys.